for my southern friends. It's April 8th, 2016, and you can hear the birds chirping, right? But don't exactly expect snow on April 8th. Actually, one year it snowed on April 15th, tax day. So, it's siree. Life in the north. Gotta love it. Sure, some of my friends out west are not surprised by this or affected by this, or no big deal. But yep, for my southern friends, it's real, baby. It's real. Alright, time to get to work. There's snow on my car! I could not get on the snow on my car. Well, this is the first morning drive or story time, whatever you call it, with my Ion action cam. So, see how that works. Maybe it's not the first time I've recorded with the action cam in the vehicle, but first one where I'm going to tell a story. And the story is the subject of the story came about when I was talking to my son last night, and he was talking about a live stream he was watching, and it was a pretty interesting discussion, and it brought back some memories, not necessarily bad memories, but just memories of my childhood. And it's about bullying. Anyway, just a little background. The story my son was telling me was about this kid in school that was bullied by his teacher, of all people. And the teacher just would give him a hard time. Oh, look. Popo! Traffic, what do you call that? Speed trap. Popo speed trap. That is why I do not speed on this road, because they set up speed traps. I think there's one here that's, I would say, about once a week. Yeah, about once a week there's a speed trap here, and then there's also another speed trap up ahead. So that's why I do not speed through here, and people get aggravated with me. But the ones that are aggravated at me are usually the ones getting pulled over. Alright, back to story time. But the teacher in the story that my son was watching did things like give this kid a hard time for doing extra work or something like that. And then one time he said, yeah, everybody, or I'm going to give out a prize for doing well on something, and the kid won the prize, and the prize was a clap and a half. Anyway, I didn't get the whole story, but anyway, we talked about bullying a little bit. So today's story time, I don't know, we're 5 minutes into it or whatever, is about the times that I got bullied. And I thought about doing this before, but never really had a time or an occasion to put it all together. Anyway, so here we go. The first event that I remember getting bullied was, I was 5, very young. Anyway, it was school. I was school age, and this happened when I lived in Vietnam. For some reason, at the end of the school day, these two kids said, "Hey, come over to my house. We've got candy or treats or something like that." And what kid wouldn't take up the offer for getting candy or treats, right? So these two kids said, they were in my class, and elementary school in Vietnam is just a blur. I mean, I remember going, but I don't remember like every day or even every other day, or most of it. I just remember bits and pieces of it. Anyway, this one particular time I go, these two kids invite me home, and normally my brother comes pick me up from school. Salty boats. My brother would come to school and take me home, or walk me home. But for some reason, my brother didn't come walk me home that day, and so I go to these two kids' house, and it wasn't that far from my recollection. It was maybe a 5-10 minute walk, and of course Vietnam is very rural, so and this was probably the first time I had wandered out of my own neighborhood on my own. So what got in my head that I could go to these kids' houses, I don't know. But I go to the house, and the one kid was showing me around. Hey, you know, this is where we go play. This is where we go play hide and seek, and this is the backyard, and this is neighbors and stuff like that. And then he starts telling me about ghosts. Oh yeah, this place is haunted. There's ghosts back here, and you know, of course, the one kid was kind of like the lead, and the other kid just was like playing along, but he wasn't really, I would say, cool with it, but he wasn't a full participant, let's say. He was kind of an unwitting accomplice. So anyway, the instigator, he decides, hey, let me tie you up, and you can see the ghosts at night. And I'm like, no, I'm not good with that. And so I think he pushes me up against this tree. There's like a palm tree or something like that. So he pushes me up against this tree and tells the other kid, hey, give me that rope or something like that. And I can't remember what it was that they used to tie me up. And I don't recall putting up a very big fight. I remember just going into panic mode and crying. And so the other kid hands the big kid a rope, and the big kid like wraps the rope around me and the tree. Of course, it could have been a very big tree. We weren't very big kids back then. I mean, we're talking about 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, right? So the kid kind of loosely ties me up around this tree. I'm bawling, man. I'm like screaming my head off. Bloody murder, right? And somehow either the kid panics and unties me, or I realize that, oh, he really hasn't tied me up very well. And I get out of the rope or binding, whatever he used to tie me up. And, you know, so I just start walking. I'm not even sure where to walk to or what direction. So I'm looking around, and the whole time I'm crying, screaming. And I find this old lady, and she was, you know, kind of sitting down, washing vegetables or something like that. And she goes, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I said, that kid there tied me up and was going to let the ghosts get me. And she's like, "Oh my goodness." And so she calls his name. It's like, "What are you doing?" And so she gets all mad at him, and I kind of lost attention to that, and I'm just walking. And somehow I find my way home. But yeah, I tell you, that was the first time I remember ever really being scared for my life. I mean, we lived in Saigon, and Saigon was a pretty safe area from the war, but I always heard stories on the news. We had a TV, and I would listen to the news, and I wouldn't quite understand what was going on, but I remember hearing and understanding stories of schools getting blown up, right? Of course, that was the propaganda, and it was probably true. some of it was true. You know, when you live in a war zone, things happen. But the propaganda on the TV was like, oh, the Viet Cong blew up another school, and 50 children died. You know, and it was really tragic story. But it's something we always thought about when we went to school. And I think they even had like drills at school where we were duck and cover, right? We were supposed to duck and cover. And that was just the reality of life back then. So that, I think I'll end that right here. I've got other bullying stories that I'll work into the mix later, but that was my first experience with bullying as a kid. So hope you enjoyed the story. Hope it didn't make you sad. Obviously I lived through it, and I am who I am now because of the experiences that I had, and luckily it didn't scar me for life. I still remember it, but I'm not traumatized by it. Besides that one instance, I was pretty traumatized, but I don't think that it's affected my life detrimentally in the long scheme of things. But anyway, catch you later. Bye.